Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. A man from the Bloodvein First Nation in Manitoba is speaking out about his recent medical procedure that went drastically wrong. Last October, Jason Kennedy needed an emergency operation to amputate his right leg. However, when he woke up from surgery, he discovered medical professionals amputated the wrong leg. As APTN's Creason Achkate reports, despite this incident creating so many life changes, Kennedy still has a positive outlook.
Jason Kennedy is currently recovering from his recent surgery, staying at the Seven Oaks General Hospital in Winnipeg. Despite losing his wrong leg to an amputation at Grace Hospital, his spirit remains high, along with his humor.
I gotta get upper body strength if I'm gonna be in a wheelchair. I'm hoping for a hovercraft at least. Gee whiz, somebody invent that, please, I'll be the first one to try it out.
On October 23rd, the 48-year-old who has diabetes went to Seven Oaks because he was in pain and his right foot was bleeding. Medical staff determined an amputation was needed due to a previous bone infection he was living with. With the worry that the infection could get worse and enter his bloodstream, the amputation was done on October 31st by a surgeon and medical staff at Winnipeg's Grace Hospital.
I was under the impression that they were going to take the leg that had the infection.
However, when Kennedy woke up, he realized the wrong leg was amputated. He says it felt like a bad dream. But then he recalled to his teachings he received from his grandparents.
Having that forgiveness within ourselves, and to forgive yourself, and we can't judge and blame others, for whatever happens in our lives. We leave that up to the Creator.
Kennedy says the surgeon at Grace Hospital and 2 other medical staff apologized for what happened.
The surgeon came in and told me he was apologizing, and he apologized to me. He said, "I'm sorry, I took the wrong foot." Gee whiz, I know that you took the wrong foot. And I told him straight out, I wanted to burst out freaking out at him, but that's not the way we grew up. We grew up with understanding, forgiveness.
A critical incident review of what went wrong is now underway by the Winnipeg Regional Health Authority. They say they can't comment due to patient confidentiality. Manitoba's health minister declined an interview request with APTN News, but said in a statement, a review is investigating whether racial bias played a role. Uzoma Asagwara, Manitoba's health minister, added, "The health and safety of patients in this province is my top priority. I want to extend my sympathies for the patient and their family. This is a heartbreaking situation that no one deserves to go through." The Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs is calling for immediate action and a full and transparent investigation into the incident. They are saying, quote, "This tragic error, which left Mr. Kennedy in shock and disbelief upon waking from anesthesia, highlights ongoing systemic issues within healthcare delivery to First Nations people." Kennedy, who is a commercial fisherman and was previously homeless in Winnipeg, appreciates all the care and support he has received following the incident, including from Lisa Young, who is chief of Bloodvein First Nation, and his cousin.
Jason taught me how to harvest rabbits when we were little, and going through the bush trails and doing all those outdoors type things. Now I know he's not going to be able to do that as freely as he could before. So just a whole life-changing scenario for him, and it's devastating. It shouldn't have happened.
Kennedy is now exploring his legal options and speaking with a lawyer about compensation. Medical staff are also trying to save his right foot with antibiotics so he doesn't lose that leg too. For now, Kennedy hopes his story will bring necessary change within Manitoba's healthcare system so that an incident like this never happens again.
Everybody should be put in place and to know what their duties are and what has to happen.
For APTN National News, I'm Creason Achkate in Winnipeg.
And Creason has more on this story over on our website, aptnnews.ca. Now to a video uploaded to social media that is raising some serious questions about the treatment of an Indigenous 16-year-old girl by 6 security guards at a busy shopping mall in Surrey, British Columbia. APTN's Tina House has this story and a warning. Some viewers may find the video of the incident disturbing.
This video was uploaded onto social media on November the 13th that shows a 16-year-old girl who doesn't wish to be identified being detained by 6 security guards at the Guildford Town Centre Mall in Surrey, BC.
Yeah, you're traumatizing her. Let go of her. Let go of her now. Let go of her. Let go. You're using unnecessary force. You don't need to hold on to her like this. What are you doing? Why are you putting your knee in her back? Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are?
After what was supposed to be a fun time for who we will call Jane and her 2 non-Indigenous friends at the mall turned into a nightmare after security guards questioned only the Indigenous girl about stealing from the Victoria's Secret store. After the teen showed them inside her bag, which had nothing in it, a security guard then allegedly slapped her phone out of her hand and smashed it on the ground.
They had me outside first, and then they brought me inside, and that's when all of the other security guards came and they all cornered me. And then that's when I started feeling like I was being trapped, and like, I don't know, I felt really cornered and like, I felt really claustrophobic by being surrounded by all these security guards, and that just made me feel really inhumane. It made me feel like not human, being like so surrounded by security guards and getting pinned to the ground after I showed them I had nothing.
Jane says when one of the security guards had her on the ground, she couldn't breathe for up to a minute. According to the teen, the entire incident lasted for approximately 10 minutes until police showed up. The Surrey RCMP confirmed that they did go to the mall. Their statement reads in part, on November the 12th, 2024, at 8:43 p.m., police responded to a report of an assault on a security guard at Guildford Town Centre. Police were advised that the suspect female was being detained by the mall security. Our officer attended and arrested the suspect female for assault. According to the mall security, the female allegedly spat toward a security guard and was subsequently detained. The suspect, who is a youth, was released at scene to their guardian. Investigation is ongoing, and all aspects of what transpired are being looked at. But Jane's mother says her daughter was not arrested or charged, and she believes her daughter was racially profiled.
Shame on you guys. You guys are grown, big men. There's no need to be handling anybody like that or even put your hands on anybody at all. Like, it's very shameful.
Sino General is her stepfather and says their daughter is traumatized over what happened.
Speaking with her after and then speaking with the officer was talked to her right away and was more on her side, like right away, like, okay, she was like, something's off. And she went and watched the TV camera in the mall, and she saw that she was offering her bag, showing that, hey, I ain't got nothing. Look, I ain't got nothing. And they still went in and grabbed her. And so, like, that's where the officer was like, they should have de-escalated. They didn't. So, that was an assault. That was forcible confinement, public mischief, because they singled her out as being Indigenous.
APTN reached out to Paladin Security for comment, but we did not get a reply before the story went to air. A rally is planned for later today outside of the mall where it happened, and we will have a full story for you next week. Tina House, APTN National News, Surrey.
To Alberta politics now, and earlier this month, Brooks Arcand-Paul, an NDP MLA, presented a private member's bill into the legislature. The bill would have the provincial government consider reconciliation with Indigenous peoples when making decisions. APTN's Chris Stewart has that story.
Mr. Speaker, I've heard from Indigenous nations across this beautiful province, and they want action on reconciliation in this province. This bill will do just that.
On November 4th, first-time MLA and Indigenous relations critic Brooks Arcand-Paul introduced Bill 209, the Reconciliation Implementation Act, into the legislature. Arcand-Paul says the bill will give Indigenous communities in Alberta a louder voice in determining government policy. He says he has visited many communities to discuss what the bill needs to include.
I've actually sat down with nations and Métis communities to talk about what they want to see in this bill. Because I was raised in treaty, I was raised in our ways to know that we were supposed to have a relationship.
The bill will have the province consider reconciliation spelled out by Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission in every decision made.
This is the first step to do that, to implement the TRC calls to action, to have a legal framework, but also to change the way that we consult, because we know across this country that consultation has been done in a very fraught way where our leaders aren't kept apprised and they feel like their voices aren't heard.
Under Bill 209, the provincial Indigenous Relations Minister would be required to consult with Indigenous communities.
It's going to be that a reporting structure has to be created in collaboration. That action plan will spell out exactly what needs to be done, but again, with the recommendation of First Nations and Métis communities.
Arcan Paul says the government needs to step up actions on the calls to action.
It's not just going to be a one and done deal. You'll have the Minister of Indigenous Relations will have to go back to nations and say, well, look, I've done this much progress. I've accomplished this TRC calls to action. Because right now there's no framework. Right now it's done on an ad hoc basis, if done at all. We know that the Yellowhead Institute identified that 0 calls to action were completed in the last year. And to me, that is not satisfactory.
Arcan Paul's bill has already passed first reading, but he knows it will be a tough sell to go the distance with the United Conservative Party of Alberta still holding power. He says he is open to amendments to get the bill passed. He wants the bill to be a framework for every provincial government to follow. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
So don't forget to bring that.
The RCMP have been using body-worn cameras in select communities, but now they'll start being rolled out nationally as early as next week. Sarah Connors gives us the details and what this will mean for RCMP interactions with Indigenous peoples going forward.
In September, 34-year-old Stephen Igi Didem, a member of the Elsipogtog First Nation, was shot and killed by the RCMP after they responded to a wellness check. RCMP officers who responded were not wearing body-worn cameras.
So that's going to make it very difficult for the serious incident response team to properly investigate.
This professor of criminology and criminal justice says cameras could have helped prove what happened.
Because sadly, all we have are the 2 responding officers' accounts, and that's it.
But starting Monday, the RCMP will begin rolling out body-worn cameras for all frontline staff. Over the next 9 months, approximately 1,000 frontline officers per month will begin using body-worn cameras. According to RCMP spokeswoman Tanya Gogan, by this time next year, 90% of frontline members will be wearing them.
The use of body-worn cameras and the digital evidence management system will be a national standard for all frontline general duty police officers across the country.
Since late August, at least 10 Indigenous people have died following interactions with law enforcement. The RCMP hopes the cameras will help improve relationships with Indigenous people.
So it's, I think, a positive initiative that could help build trust and transparency between the police and the Indigenous communities we serve.
These body cams, I think, are going to make things easier or more streamlined for us.
This criminal defense lawyer says the presence of cameras may cause the RCMP to be more cautious in their interactions with Indigenous people.
So the police, it might make them be a little more slow to react in that type of fashion, and holding them accountable for their actions at the end of the day.
But others say body-worn cameras aren't foolproof.
Sometimes the evidence that has been used from body-worn cameras in court, sometimes it's proved useful, other times it has not, because the images have been grainy, the recording wasn't as good as they had hoped it would be.
Officers are responsible for turning their cameras on prior to arriving to a call, a policy the RCMP calls seatbelt off, camera on. It says supervisors will be required to review footage to ensure officers are in compliance. Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
The Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs is speaking out about an incident at a hockey game in Saugeen Anishinaabe Nation. That story and more after the break. Welcome back. Doctors in La Ronge, Saskatchewan have treated 27 cases of scurvy within the last 6 months. And they're blaming food insecurity and high food prices in the province's north. Scurvy is caused by not having enough vitamin C in your diet over a long period of time. Symptoms vary from fatigue and joint pain to hair changes, wounds not healing, and loss of teeth. Fresh produce is hard to come by in the La Ronge area. A group of First Nations leaders in green energy from British Columbia are taking part in the COP29 climate change conference in Baku, Azerbaijan this weekend. Fraser Needham has that story.
The leaders are part of the First Nations Climate Initiative. Tilkazko First Nation Chief Wes Sam is part of the delegation. He says the conference is an opportunity to talk with other Indigenous leaders around the globe who are experiencing similar climate change challenges.
All with issues similar to ours, left with the results of things that were beyond our control, but now that we have to live with. Same issues, forest fires, droughts, food security issues, and looking for a way to collaborate and work together to get out of this through green energy and converting to green energy and looking at different industries that have that.
Sam is also the chair of Cool Power, a group of 11 First Nations pursuing ownership and development of renewable energy transmission projects in northwestern BC. He says through initiatives like Cool, First Nations are setting an example on how renewable energy can be produced in a sustainable way.
You can't treat the world like this, for the past 100 or more years and not expect consequences. We were brought up in a different way to respect and work with the land and our environment, and disrespecting that got us to this position. What better, as I said earlier, what better than the First Nations leading the charge on, trying to stabilize and work with our local environments.
This year's climate change conference wraps up on November 22nd. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Closer to home, the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs is calling on Hockey Manitoba to investigate a violent incident that left a 15-year-old hockey player from the Saugeen Anishinaabe First Nation injured. It happened at the Saugeen Multiplex on November 8th during a game between the Saugeen Hawks and the Labrokery Habs. The AMC press release states that several intoxicated individuals from Labrokery disrupted the game by shouting profanities and spewing racist slurs at Saugeen community members. Saugeen Chief E.J. Fontaine, who has been in touch with the Saugeen parents, claims one of the spectators attacked a 15-year-old boy, injuring his arm. Chief Fontaine and AMC Acting Chief Betsy Kennedy say the issue of racism in youth sports is ongoing and that it's time to put an end to it.
When I was a kid playing hockey, we dealt with this in the area here. There's always been racism involved in sports, and I believe it's time that we do something to prevent further incidents like that.
This is not the first incident on what happens in youth sports in Manitoba. I think there has been other instances that with hockey, with minor hockey and youth hockey teams, and that it shouldn't be, it shouldn't continue.
In an email, Hockey Manitoba Executive Director Peter Woods said the incident is being investigated. And in a statement sent to APTN, Labrokery Minor Hockey President Candice Morrow said they're, quote, deeply saddened by the events that occurred and condemn any form of violence, racism, and disrespectful behavior. Time for one last break, but stick around. There's more to come. Welcome back. Time to take a look now at our photo of the day. And this one, a sunrise over West Hawk Lake in Manitoba during this unseasonably warm fall. Beautiful looking picture there shared by Sandra Seidel. If you want to be featured as our photo of the day, You can email your pictures to share@aptn.ca. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, showers and 10 in Halifax, 8 and rain in Fredericton, 0 in Kuujjuaq, snow and +2 in Nain, 10 in Montreal, 3 in Chibougamau, 9 with rain in Sault Ste. Marie, 5 in North Bay, cloudy and 8 in Thunder Bay, 7 and cloudy in Sioux Lookout, +3 in God's Lake, 0 for Norway House, 7 with rain in Winnipeg, 0 in Dauphin, -2 in Regina, cloudy and 0 in Saskatoon, +1 in Meadow Lake, -1 with snow in La Ronge. Snow across much of northern Alberta, -2 in High Level, 1 below in Fort Chip. +3 in Edmonton, 5 above in Lethbridge. 7 with showers in Vancouver, Victoria, and Campbell River. +2 with snow in Prince George and Smithers. -15 and snow in Old Crow, snow and -3 in Whitehorse. Flurries and 3 below in Yellowknife, snow and -20 in Norman Wells. -14 in Sax Harbor, snow and -8 in Paulatuck. -4 with snow in Chesterfield and Whale Cove, 2 below in Arviat. -11 in Resolute, 13 below in Igloolik. Anishinaabe author Tanya Talega's latest book, The Knowing, is what she describes as an unfolding of Canadian history, narrated in a way only she can. Since its release on August 27th, the book has also been adapted into a 4-part docu-series of the same name, aimed at highlighting the significance of uncovering family roots. The Knowing follows Talega's journey to fill in the gaps of her own family history, and the book is an exploration of the matriarchs in her family, particularly her 2 times great-grandmother, Annie Carpenter, who was taken to the Ontario Hospital in 1930 and never returned. In the process of searching for Carpenter, Talega says she identified her ancestors and discovered 32 Indigenous people in an unmarked graveyard. This discovery led to her notifying families about their long-lost ancestors. Talega is currently embarking on a 3-month cross-country tour to share her experience of reconnecting with lost family members and to encourage others to discover and tell their stories. Tonight she is in Winnipeg at the McNally Robinson store at Grant Park Mall, followed by a stop in Saskatoon, Saturday at Station 20 West at 7 p.m. And tonight's event is being hosted by acclaimed author David Robertson. If you can't make it, I know it's being streamed on the McNally Robinson YouTube page. That's all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Friday. Of course, for news anytime, you can visit our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward, Marcy McGuitch. Thanks for being with us. My picks for this weekend, beatdowns from the Bombers and Tyson. Stay tuned. Kim Sullivan is up next with your French language news. Have a great night.